Hey Spring Arbor students, this is week number 2 of MBA 601 and 691. Just wanted to bring you some notes and highlights for this coming week, and the video that I'm reading or that I'm talking to you about is also in a text format. I'll make sure that those notes are attached to the announcement that goes out with this video as well, so you can look at the actual detailed script and that sort of thing. You know what? Make sure you're reading the syllabus and completing all assignments on time. I don't think it's been a problem yet, but it's only been 1 week, so just a reminder, keep track of that syllabus and make sure you're walking through that. A word about dialogue responses. Be sure to provide counterpoint posts for your classmates that are meaningful. I think some of you are treating this a little too lightly. Be thoughtful and constructive in your counterpoint responses. Make sure that you're picking initial responses that have not been picked yet. So if you see when you go in to do a response or a counterpoint response, pick somebody that maybe doesn't have a response yet and change it up throughout each week. Pick somebody different. All dialogue should be entered directly into the post. Don't attach a file as you're posting. I think a few of you did this last time. It's difficult for people to read it and respond sort of freely to it that way. I do encourage you though to write the post in Microsoft Word. You have to make sure the grammar and spelling are correct, and then just copy and paste the text into the post. Again, don't attach the file. Make sure you're providing references and citations in the correct APA format in your dialogues. I'll be going easy on grading for this week, week 1 that is, but beginning with week 2, I'm going to start looking pretty carefully at the format for citations and references in your dialogues. For dialogues and blogs, I'm not concerned about the APA formatting for indents and paragraphs and line spacing and that sort of thing. That'll come with the papers, right? But again, I will be watching for correct APA formatting for citations and references, but in both dialogues and blogs. Again, in your project papers, though, everything's got to be done right to APA formatting, including the line spacing, indents, and that sort of thing, as well as citations and references. Okay, the thing about APA is this: you got to remember, if you've got that blue manual, it can tell you exactly how to format things and take care of references and citations correctly. Chapter 6 in the APA manual discusses proper format for citations, and Chapter 7 provides the specifics on the references. So use that APA manual often. I use it all the time when I'm doing my own writing and checking my own work. I think I mentioned this last week. Make sure you have your grammar and spell check on inside of Microsoft Word as you're writing your documents and you're writing your papers and that sort of thing. If you're using Blackboard just to construct your paper in, it's kind of a hard way to go, but you can do it. Make sure at least that you've got spell checking turned on if you're using Blackboard directly. Some of you have asked if Spring Arbor has a preference about which version of the Bible is preferred when you're quoting scripture for this class. And I'm not sure if the university has taken a position on that or not. So use and cite whichever version of the Bible that you would normally read yourself. Just cite it correctly. In fact, if you go to the APA manual in section 6.18, there's a way to properly cite passages from classical documents, which they would call the Bible would be a classical document in the APA language. You don't need to include the Bible in the reference list, but you do need to include a proper citation of it when you actually write about it and cite something. Okay, a note about references versus bibliographies. You may encounter both of these during your MBA program and your MBA time at Spring Arbor University, and there's a difference. So let's talk about those for a moment. A reference list contains a list of the materials that you've actually cited in the body of the text that you wrote. So for example, if you cite a book in the content of your writing, you must show that book in the reference list. Okay? A bibliography contains any material that you've read about the topic or about your paper, but sometimes you read stuff and you don't put it in your paper, you don't cite it at all. But the material that you read influences how you think. And so all of the material that you read should go in your bibliography. And if you think about it, your bibliography list is going to be really big, and your reference list will just be smaller than that because you won't include everything you've read as a citation in your paper. So again, much of the material that you use, at least in this class, is going to be using reference lists, not bibliographies. Okay, I know there's been some confusion on the due dates for blogs and dialogues. We went through that midweek, last week, and then midweek again. So I apologize for that confusion. And I've put an announcement out last Wednesday, I think is when it was, about that topic. And in the written version of this video that will be attached to the announcement, you can, again, go look at the schedule of when things are due for both blogs and dialogues. Just real quickly, blogs are only used in 691, and blogs are due on the Tuesday and the Friday and the Sunday cycle. Dialogues, which are only used in 601 for right now, those initial postings are due on Wednesday, and then follow-up and post responses and counterpoints are due by Sunday night. Okay. Kind of like last week, you'll need to use the White Library to find some assigned journal articles for this week's assignments. If you have some trouble using the library resources, then again, look at the notes version of the attachment and the announcement, and I've got kind of a walkthrough of what you do to actually get to some of that material. And as you go through your MBA program here, you're going to want to know how to find resources in the White Library. So kind of give you just a quick little process of how to go find something. Some thoughts about the reading this week. From Euclid's text, I thought the guidelines in Chapter 5 on delegating work were pretty good, actually. And it's kind of like how I do things, too. So I thought, in fact, I learned some things when I read his material, some things that maybe I should try as well. He talks about personality traits in Chapter 6. I thought that was very interesting. You may want to check that out. And you may find yourself both strengths and weaknesses in that list of personality traits that Gary Yuckle talks about. Table 7.2 is also pretty good. Some very practical advice from the author about how to take action when things start to go upside down and out of control at your workplace. Chapter 8 is pretty good. Take a really close look at what the section called Power Sources. You'll probably use this later on, that section in particular, as you consider your role and your influence in the host organization where you're doing some research. Okay, I think that's it for now. Make sure you're being a critical reader of all the documents that you read. Make sure you look at it through a biblical worldview. Again, I'm available for email and Zoom meetings per the table that'll be in the notes attached to this announcement. Take a look at that. I try to respond to emails fairly quickly. If you want to Zoom, let me know. We can talk. All right. Have a great week.